in our office, and we usually provide a nice meal with it. So it typically is a dinner in the evening, or sometimes we do it over the lunch hour as well. But here we are today, and I'm just excited to share this with you. So this is our health talk, and we like to do this simply because there's a lot of misunderstandings, misconceptions about our health. To be bluntly honest, most of us, including myself, weren't really raised with the proper understanding of our health, of our bodies, and so we live kind of in a system where if you have a challenge, you have a symptom, you have some kind of disease or issue, then we just run screaming to the nearest office and do whatever they say and take whatever pill, because we're simply not taught the way that our bodies do work. And we're told that basically our body is too confusing to be able to figure out yourself, so you got to trust another professional to do it. We're taught that there's disease and danger everywhere in this earth, and that you should be afraid of every little germ. And we want to just be able to shift that and help you to think in a better way about your health and be able to get better outcomes in the future as well. So that's what this is really all about, and that's what I'm excited to show you here today. So what I want to start with is simply the reality of where this comes from. So when I grew up, I like to say I grew up on the other side of the fence. I grew up in that world, that model of healthcare where if I was sick, if I had a cold, I would go reach for that Actifed. I would find the Tylenol if I had a headache. I would do those things to help quiet those symptoms because I felt that without the symptoms, my body was healthy. If my body wasn't yelling at me or telling me there was a problem, then I must be okay. And that's, again, how a lot of us are kind of trained to think about our health and our bodies. There's a big problem with that, though, and we'll get into that. So when I started learning this information, it was very revolutionary for me. And it honestly took me a while to really grasp it, and to make sense of it and to apply it not only for my own life, but also to apply it in the best way possible for our patients that we see on a daily basis. Now, I say that because I realize that for a lot of people who are going to hear this information for the first time, you're going to be like I was. You're going to sit on that fence for a while and really not know if you can do this. You might have some trepidation about thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to think about giving up my medical doctor. What would I do if I got sick? How would I treat my body? Without knowing without just seeming to think that I feel good. How else can I define my health? And I just want to be able to say I get it. I've been there. It took me a while to get over the fence, so to speak. So I don't expect really anybody to fully grasp these concepts if you are fully entrenched in that other frame of mind. But what I want to do today is simply open the door and help you to realize that there is a different way of thinking about your health, that there is different actions that you can take to get different outcomes, and that's really what it's all about. So if you're on that fence, just realize you got good company. And if you're on the other side, you're on the good side of this fence, and you're realizing the reality of this information and how it can apply it to your health and your family, then great. I hope this just simply reinforces the message and gives you more to go on. So what we know, reality in our lives, is that we live by this cycle. Whatever outcomes and results that you have in your life, they were the result of some action that you took to get there. And those actions were done because you had some kind of belief or thought about what you knew to do or what you believed was right to do. And so it led to that cycle. And what we also know is that if the outcomes match the desire that you started with, that initial thought or belief, then you're going to reinforce this cycle and continue doing more things like it. But the reality is also, especially when it comes to health, that we do things oftentimes with these grand visions and grand expectations for our health, whether it's a new diet program or whether it's a new workout program or some other radical change for your body, or you're going to a different medical authority for a health concern. And we believe with all of our will that we're doing the right thing and we're going to get the right results, and the actions don't really lead us to that. Or maybe we get temporary relief or temporary results with weight loss or muscle building or whatever it is that you have, but then we also see that those actions are nearly impossible to keep up. And it doesn't really reinforce this cycle strongly enough for you to stick with it in the long term. And so they fall away. Or maybe they didn't give you any results at all, and it doesn't reinforce these thoughts and beliefs at all, and you're kind of left spinning your wheels again. So I get it. And the reality here also is most of us live life on autopilot. When it comes to our thoughts and our beliefs, it's been said that about 2% of people actually think. 3% of people think that they think. And up to 95% of people would rather die than have to think. Now, that's a humorous take on life, but the reality is it's also exposing really how our brains work. Meaning that a lot of things that we do on a regular basis are done on autopilot. You don't really think about how to physically walk from one room to the next. You don't think about how to drive a car. You just do it because you've been doing it for years. You don't think about a lot of things that you do in your life because they've become habit and routine, and they're things that you can simply do on autopilot. You can drive home tonight and think about, like when you pull into your driveway, think, how did I get here? Did I run some red lights? Did I see all the cars that I passed? What turn did I take to get through there? If you don't think about it, sometimes you can just simply do it on autopilot, and hopefully you're doing it the right way. But that's the reality when it comes to our health as well, is that you are probably running on autopilot. You're doing things because that's the way your parents taught you to do them, because that's what they did, and that's what their parents before them told them. Or you're doing it because some other authority, teachers and preachers and medical doctors and other people that told you this is how you should live, and this is what you should eat, and this is how you should act. And so what I want you to do is really step back and look at the results that you have right now and realize that they are the result of the actions that you took to get there. And I know that may be kind of a slap in the face for a few of you, because you may think, well, I have this horrible disease. I have, a horrible relationship. I have, terrible financial concerns, and my work is horrible, and I'm suffering in my life. How can that be something that I chose? Well, the reality is everything that you did to get there was some action which underlied some belief or thought that you took to get there. We all go through it every day where you're given dozens of opportunities to think differently and act differently. We can choose to take the stairs compared to taking an escalator. We can choose to go get a workout instead of sitting on the couch and watching another Netflix series. We can choose to eat a good, healthy, whole food meal instead of running through the nearest fast food restaurant. We can choose to say no to some of the things that get thrown at us in life, and to be less busy. Or we can simply just continue to be overwhelmed by all these demands from everybody else and the constant stream of notifications and emails and everything else that bombards us in our lives. So those results that you have right now, they truly are the result of the actions that you took, and they expose the thoughts and beliefs that you got there. So if you don't like your results, then we have to do something about changing your actions, or changing even your thoughts and beliefs. And that's where I know we can make the biggest impact for you, is if we can help you to understand something better, to think something better about your health, your body, and to be able to take better actions down the road. So this was me a good 20 years ago, early 2000s. And yeah, I was a big guy. If you've seen pictures of me now, or if you're a current patient, you know that I'm about 100 pounds less than what I am right there. And the actions that I was doing, the way that I was eating 7,000 calories per day, working out as often as 3 or 4 times per day, per week, extremely heavily, with all kinds of workouts. Those were the actions that I needed to take to be that big so I could be effective on the football field. But I also knew, and I was seeing it at the time, that those actions were giving me other results that I didn't really like. My knees were getting sore. My back was starting to ache. I saw several of my teammates go through issues where they had to have knee surgeries and back surgeries, and they were starting to take the hydrocodone and oxycodones and Vioxx, which is now banned, but a lot of different things that were happening at the time that if I would have stayed on that track and kept doing those things, I would continue to enhance or amplify those results, and I would be a completely different person than I am today. I'd be a wreck, honestly. So I'm glad that I changed. I'm glad that I had the wherewithal to say, I don't like living this way. When I'm done with football, I am losing the weight as fast as I can. I am getting down to a normal size. I'm going to maintain that any way I can. I had to look at myself differently in the mirror and be able to realize that this was not right. And that took a lot of work. But it started with that shift in my brain to think differently, to be able to realize that there was a different outcome potential for me. But in order to do that, I had to take different actions, and I had to start by believing something different about my body and my health. So what I want to start with is also just expose the fact that we live through these frame of references. And what I mean by that is, imagine if you walk up to Stonehenge, you're the very first person to ever see this in the history of the world, after it was made, of course, and you come up to this beautiful structure, and you have no idea what it is, but it's obviously made with incredible effort, incredible intent, and you're going to frame that through whatever lens you see the world through. Meaning, let's say that you are a farmer, and you walk up to this and you say, well, maybe this is where they stored their grain, or they, maybe this is some kind of sundial which showed them the best times to plant and best times to harvest. If you came at this from a different frame, maybe you grew up in the church, your parents were preachers, you're a preacher, then you might look at this and say, wow, this is obviously a place of reverence. They put a lot of effort into making this. It's a place of ceremonies, and it's a giant church. Or if you if you had like an astronomical background, you may see how this relates to certain constellations or star formations or the rising of planets and things like that. And you may say that, oh, so these people were obviously designing some kind of star clock, here from the ground, so that you can plan out the seasons or understand the heavens. Or if your frame of reference is that you just like conspiracy theories and you like to be a little crazy, you may think that little green men from Mars came down and built this. So whatever your frame of reference is going to help you understand something totally brand new and something that's you might not have any concept of. And why I bring that up is because this is very important. A lot of people have a frame of reference on health, and they think that there's a certain thing about they just want to feel good. They might think a certain thing about what we do with chiropractic in our office. They may think it's only about back pain and neck pain and headaches. And while it is good for those things, I want to show you that it is something more, much more than just those things. But in order to do that, in order to show you properly, I need you to take off those lenses and be able to see it with a blank frame and be able to just absorb some new information. So that's where we have to start. I can show you all kinds of research and data and all of these things, but it won't get through if you don't allow it, if you have that block, if it doesn't compute because you're trying to blend it with some old stale information that it really doesn't fit. So that's where I want to go, and that's how we're going to get there. So what I talked about before is we want to feel good. And that's the reality for all of us. I grew up in that model, and that's what that if I had a cold, I took a pill. If I had a headache, I took a pill. That's what I thought was necessary to do, because if you're not feeling good, that's the first thing you want to do is just feel better. But here's the reality: if we just base our health on how we feel, we can miss the vast majority of what's really going on in our body. You take the top killers of Americans right now, heart disease, cancer, and lung diseases, and you see that there is very little, if any, early signs and symptoms of those diseases. Heart disease in particular, a very sizable chunk of people, the very first sign of any kind of heart disease is the first heart attack itself. They call it the silent killer. So if you're just waiting around thinking, oh, my heart's great, I haven't had a problem yet, that first heart attack could be the last. In cancer is notorious for being completely asymptomatic, no issues, no pain, not even a whisper of it, until you find out almost too late that it's stage 3, stage 4, and now you got to do some radical invasive therapies. Lung diseases as well. Your lungs could have a good portion of them being eaten up by disease or filled in with some kind of issue before you really notice the shortness of breath or issues that may tell you that there's a problem. So if we don't listen to our bodies correctly, and if we just think that we're healthy because we can get out of bed and touch our toes, then we're totally missing the picture. But that is the system that we live in. You know, these people exemplify that system perfectly. These are people we look up to, people we revere, and they all simply wanted to feel better as well. They got caught in a cycle where they started by needing a pick-me-up, by needing to push through that next set, that next filming, and they did that with all kinds of chemical means. You know, you'll notice the common theme here that every one of these people died from some kind of overdose. You know, so if we just simply want to feel better, we have to realize what's on the far end of that spectrum. Now, this is troubling. This is very worrying because this is also the trend that becomes normalized when so many people like this end up going that direction. So we want to think differently, we want to act differently, and we want to get a better outcome than this because that's not what we want. If you think about your own medicine cabinet at home and you open that up and you see a bunch of pills, potions, lotions, all kinds of stuff start spilling out of there, what does that say about your health? What does that project to somebody else if they were to peek inside your medicine cabinet and see all kinds of bottles and prescriptions in there? They would probably think that you're not that healthy. They would wonder, why do you need all that stuff? You know, compare that to a medicine cabinet like our own where we don't have anything in there. We have toothpaste and toothbrush and that's about it. You know, what does it say about our medicine cabinet if we don't have any medicine in there? What does it say about our health if we don't need any medicine to be healthy? You know, that's simply what we want to talk about today, and how I want to show you what the reality is, what you can do for yourself and your family to be able to have a different outcome and to not need those things. Because I want to be sure that you can live a long, healthy life without the need for those things. There really shouldn't be a need for those things in the first place if you do the right things, and that's what we want to talk about. So this is how your body runs. This is the system that we have to work with. This nervous system, your brain, and how it communicates down through that spine, through that spinal cord, and then out through all those nerves, those yellow and green wires there. Those are the things that are communicating to every organ, every muscle, really every cell of your body is being controlled and coordinated by this communication from the nervous system. So the better that communication is, the better your body functions. Now consider like your stomach right there in the middle. If the stomach is not working correctly and you have some issues because some belching, gas, bloating, indigestion, too much or too little stomach acid, what does that say about the function of your stomach? Is it functioning at its best? Obviously not. So what is that also inferring about the quality of the communication from the brain to that stomach? Is it getting 100% control and 100% function through that nerve? That's the only way it works, so of course it's not getting full control. So we have to think, what is it that is preventing the stomach from getting that communication from the brain to the body? And that's simply what we call subluxations. These kinks in the spine, these restrictions, and you have 24 different bones in your spine between the sacrum and the skull. They all need to move very cleanly, very well. And if there is a restriction there, then that can create dysfunction or excessive stress in the nervous system, which is going to limit your body's ability to communicate cleanly through that nervous system, and it can lead to all kinds of issues. It can affect any single one of these organs or muscle functions or anything in the body. So again, if you have any kind of concern, we have to think of our body in this way. If you have a stomach concern and it's not producing enough acid or too much acid, then simply taking some kind of antacid isn't going to solve the issue. It's not fixing the reason why your stomach was dysfunctional in the first place. It may, again, quiet the symptom, but it's not truly going to correct the issue. They're not going to correct the reason why it was doing that in the first place. So that's what we want to do. And if we think about your body in this way, knowing how it truly runs from the inside, then we have a much better way of addressing any concern that may spring up. So that's the big idea. And what I know is that, to put this in more perspective for where I was at the time when I started learning this, I know that there's two big kind of camps in how we think about our bodies and our health. For one, I'm thinking about this in a more vitalistic way, meaning that your body has some intelligence and some ability that inside of it to be able to do the right thing and to express health if all things are working correctly. And I think that's an amazing idea to start with, that we all need to really realize, is that your body does do the healing work if it's able to. And we all know this, I guarantee it. Think about if you get a cut, or your child gets a cut on their finger, it's not the bandage that does the healing. It's not the ointment or the mother's kiss that does the healing. It truly is the body doing the healing from within. And if we allow that healing to express, then the cut heals itself. So we know that the body has this intelligence, it has this programming that allows it to flourish, and created you from 2 little cells into this 100 trillion cell body that is able to do amazing things now. And it's not some happenstance organization. There's a beautiful organization, this symphony that was created, that is organized through this nervous system. Now, the vitalistic side has an opposite side here. We call that the mechanistic side, and that is where you think of the body more as a machine, where it's simply created and it runs on some kind of unknown program, and we can tinker with it if we want to, but it's just wind it up and go. And most people, that kind of resonates with them because they really don't think about it, or they don't even want to think about their health or their body in any kind of positive or constructive way. The vitalistic side also is more natural, meaning that we realize we are a part of nature and that we have natural bodies. We need to live in a natural way and follow nature's rules. We can't be what we here see on the other side is too artificial. We can't eat artificial foods without long-term effects. We can't live in artificial ways and be separated from nature for too long. We can't live in these sterile steel clouds structures in the sky like in a Star Wars movie. That just isn't possible. We need to connect with nature because we are natural beings. The other thing is, on the vitalistic side, we think of the body as a whole, as a part of the whole process. The sum, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And we realize that we need all the parts in order to function correctly, in order to do something great. Whereas the other side sees it as simply a bunch of random parts that are kind of strewn together, and we can tinker with it, and we can take something out, and look, we can take out the appendix, and you can take out the spleen, the adenoids and tonsils, and look, you can still live. We can take out a whole lung, we can take out part of your liver. It's amazing what we can take out, and you can still live. But we also see that it does limit your life potential when we start really tinkering with this. We can replace joints. We can do all kinds of crazy radical things to the body, but we need all of our parts. We're not born with replacement parts. We need to cherish the ones we have and treat them normally so they can last our whole lives. The other side, over here on the vitalistic side, we realize that we have more of a humanistic nature about ourselves. We're more gentle and forgiving. We realize that it's going to take time to heal and to do anything amazing in the body. We know that the Band-Aid, again, isn't going to be the thing that heals it. It's going to be the time and the cleanliness of the wound, and but it's really the time factor that allows that expression from the inside of the body to be able to heal that and to stitch together that wound and grow new skin cells to replace the old dead skin cells. The other side thinks about health in a more authoritarian way, meaning that when our health is in crisis, that we reach for assistance from some authority figure, whether it's a psychiatrist or a medical doctor, or we want somebody to step in because we lost control of our health and we don't know where to turn because that's not what we were taught. And so we need somebody else, somebody who has the training and the expertise to be able to step in and do something for us because we don't know what to do. So to put this in a perspective and kind of a story for you, just imagine somebody that has a typical issue. They have fatigue and headaches and they're depressed. Somebody who is living like that in a more mechanistic side of things is going to think about the body as something that has failed. It's not working correctly. Parts are all falling apart, and we need to go in and fix that because there's something wrong in the body. It's not doing what it's supposed to. And so we may take some artificial drugs or do some kind of artificial foods that are supposed to be designed by some person who knows better than you about how to trigger some of these changes in your body. And we see all these disjoined parts in your life. You may even disown some of the things that happened, some stresses and challenges or people, and not take ownership of those situations and how they affected you. You may blame others for the situation. You may blame other circumstances for being too much of a stress and overwhelming you, because we don't take ownership of the issue. And we go to that authoritarian, that medical doctor or whoever it may be, who has the training, who has the superiority over you, over your body and over your health, because that's what they are licensed or certified to be able to do. Because God forbid you try to do it yourself, because who knows, you got yourself in this mess. Good luck getting yourself out of it. Well, compare that to the vitalistic side, where again we know that you may be depressed or tired or have headaches because those are simply signs that your intelligent body is trying to tell you about something that is imbalanced in your life. When we have a symptom or an issue or a health challenge, oftentimes what we like to say is those are the normal responses to an abnormal lifestyle or abnormal stresses. So our body is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing in those situations. We just have to listen to it and be able to respond correctly. And the person who is in this state may go do something natural. They may go for a walk in nature. They may pet a puppy. They may take some natural supplements or eat some natural foods to help to restore balance and natural function of the body by fueling the proper healing situations in the body. They're going to look at their life in the whole, meaning they're going to realize all the little parts that may have been those stresses and situations that caused these problems in the first place, and they're going to take ownership of them. That's the humanistic side as well, where they realize that it's going to take time, and they have to be honest with themselves about how they are living and be able to make those changes if necessary, if possible, to be able to get a different change or different result. So that's really the big idea. That's where I want to help you to see the green field on the other side of the fence, because that's what this is all about. Your body does have an amazing potential to heal. We always say that as long as your body has life in it, you have the ability to change, to heal, to do something different. Without life, without that power, that innate intelligence in your body, then it's not going to be able to do anything. But as long as you are alive, there is potential for change. And if we allow your body to function the way that nature intended through a healthy, functioning nervous system, then we can get there. So again, as a chiropractor, I know it sounds like we just function with back pain and neck pain and headaches, and we do a great job with that because our wheelhouse is the spine. We're helping it to work better, which makes it feel better, and of course, it ends up healing when we do the right thing. But as you can see here, it's so much more than that because that spine and nervous system influence every other function and every other ability in your body. That's why we're able to see amazing changes with asthma in kids, with allergy issues, with digestive issues, with hormonal imbalances. One of my favorite stories is a patient who was referred in by her mother who also got great results. And for years, she had been on birth control pills because her cycle just wasn't starting, wasn't working well. And within a month of her care, working on her low back and pelvis, we got her cycle to turn back on all by itself. I didn't do the work, her body did the work. But that's the reality, is that we can help your body express normal function by removing the interference in the spine. That's why we look at the spine. That's why we want to adjust the spine. It's not about back pain. In fact, if chiropractic was just about back pain and neck pain and headaches, it would have been discovered. The reality is that chiropractic was discovered because a guy who had been deaf for 18 years got his hearing back. They thought they had a cure for hearing loss. And through a lot of trial and error, they realized pretty quickly it wasn't the case, but then they saw all these other examples of people feeling better, people having their heart work better. They were able to walk without their canes anymore. They were able to sleep. They had less headaches. And they started to figure out we got something way bigger than even hearing loss, way bigger than even back pain. What's going on here? And they figured all this out. And that's what I want to share with you today because, again, this is the most powerful thing I could ever share with you about how to truly understand how to take care of your own body and how to listen to yourself and what you can do to be at your best. So where do these subluxations come from? Well, simply put, there's a lot of sources. There's physical stresses, traumas, and accidents, and sports injuries, and lots of opportunities for these kind of things to happen. There's chemical stresses from food and just, Netflix binging and poor posture sitting on the couch. All kinds of environmental stresses from our food, air, and water. We live in such a toxic, stressful environment, but even our work, not only that posture, which is horrible, but the stress and overwhelm of endless hours, endless, agenda items and alerts and it just comes at us from all angles. But that's the reality of what we see and what we help with, because when we have too much overwhelming us, we get into this defense physiology, this fight or flight state, where our muscles simply lock up and our spine locks down, and then that creates those subluxations, which can then interfere with how the spine moves, but also especially how the spine, the nervous system is able to communicate through the rest of your body, allowing you to be at your best, allowing you to have better energy, better adaptability to the stress and challenge that is always going to be there in life. To do that, obviously chiropractic is a very hands-on thing, but for me as a patient and as a doctor, I want to make sure that we're doing the best for you. And so we don't do guesswork, we do test work. And so when you come in, every so often we do this test, not only initially but also very frequently through your care, to make sure that we're seeing the right changes, the right expression of health through your body, through this computerized assessment of your nervous system, looking at 3 key variables that help us to know that your body is moving and functioning the correct way. So we want to do this because there's so much that we can see on this test to get ahead of any problems, but also in the future to make sure that we've addressed them properly and make sure we also stay ahead of any new or potential future issues that may spring up because of life. We also work on health in this way. We don't just want to patch it up. You can put a Band-Aid on a problem, but it doesn't really fix it, because the reality is, especially in our spine and our muscles, is they develop these habits, and it takes time and repetition to really retrain the body to work in a better way. So we can make you feel pretty good pretty quickly. That's honestly one of the bad things about chiropractic, is because it can work too well. And people often think, well, hey, I'm great, I'm feeling better, I'll see you, when I see you, maybe in a few months or years. But the reality is, those problems didn't start overnight, and they don't get truly fixed overnight. They can feel better pretty quickly. We say that pain is the last thing to show and the first thing to go, and that is the reality. But we know that if we're going to help you be at your best, it truly takes retraining your body to work in a better way. And I'm going to show you some research here in a minute that not only proves that, but also just how valuable it is for your core, deep level health and healing in the long term when we do this the right way. So we start with some corrective care. We want to make sure that we really use the time and repetition to your advantage and get ahead of the problem and make sure we reset this in a very good way. What we also know is that we want to get to a point where the problem is settled and we can simply maintain your good health with what we call wellness care. And we feel that the dentistry profession really got this right. They tell you that you need to brush your teeth and come in for regular cleanings once in a while. But here's the reality that they'll never tell you. You don't actually have to brush your teeth. Now, before I get in trouble for saying that, what I mean is you only have to brush the teeth that you want to keep. So, like your spine, you only have to take care of how much health you want to keep. And so instead of waiting around for a problem to flare up, you could avoid brushing your teeth for a few days or weeks, and then you go in for some, maybe a major cleaning, or maybe have to have a root canal or drill some cavities out. That's not fun. That we know, and the dentistry and profession particularly knows, that a little bit of work now and then, brushing your teeth on a regular basis, keeps them healthy and keeps you from having those major crises down the road. So what does that mean exactly for chiropractic care, and how much do we have to do to keep you healthy and well? Let's talk about that. We want to make sure that we're not abandoning any of the work that we did to get you where you got. So we're going to recommend a simple amount of wellness care, which means basically to do as little as necessary to keep you as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And that's simply because everybody has a spine and nervous system, and we all have stress. Because we can fix the problem, but you're still living in this world. You're still working. You still have family situations and financial situations. You still have all these things that can bring all those problems back just the same. So what we often get asked is, at what age should I consider chiropractic? Well, let me put it this way. When should you start working on your health if you want to live to be 100 years old? Well, probably today, if that's the true answer. You don't want to wait till you're 99. So the reality here is as young as possible is perfectly normal to be checked and adjusted if necessary. So we see babies, perfect, little newborns, and make sure that they are working at their best. The birth process itself can be very traumatic, not only for the mom, but also the baby. And so we want to make sure they're starting with everything in the right place and working the right way. The other part of this is how often. Well, we got to do that prep work if necessary, and if we find that you need a lot of work to really get things started, we put you on what we call the fast track to health. And that is an enhanced program where we really try to get after it with that frequency and the time in your favor to save as much money as possible and as much work as possible down the road. But it's going to take maybe a little more effort to get there. But what we often see is that for wellness care, like I said, we want to do as little as necessary to keep you as healthy as possible for as long as possible. And what that boils down to for most people is to come in about once a week. Honestly, we believe that just like brushing your teeth every day, if it's not happening on a weekly basis, it's really not happening for chiropractic. So that's where we find most people get the biggest benefit. Some people can come in less, some people need to come in more. It's just a matter of where you are in your lifestyle, what challenges and stresses you have, and really the competency and adaptability of your body is going to determine that. But again, we will test that. We don't just have to guess at it. What we also love is that we have a new program that we're very proud of, a wellness membership program, where for one monthly flat fee, you can have the wellness care plus any extra care that you may need including what may be like a flare-up. You go to the trampoline park and you hurt yourself with your kids, or you're shoveling snow and something tweaks. We want to be able to jump on those things right away and not have the worry of any extra expense causing extra stress. And so with our wellness membership, we're very proud to offer that, and it's been a very well-received option at our office. So if that's encouraging to you, to make sure that we can be your resource without having to drain the bank account, that's what we would love to be able to do. So again, this would all be great if it was just my word against the world, if this was all just a bunch of hearsay and a bunch of nice anecdotes about health and results and what we can do for you. But the reality is there's a lot of great research that backs up everything that I'm saying, including this one, which honestly isn't even about chiropractic care at all. This one talks about lifestyle changes and how powerful that can be. Again, stress in a lifestyle can lead to these issues. So what they saw in this test, or in this research, was they took a bunch of men who had low-level prostate cancer, and they didn't want to go through chemo, so instead they put them in this lifestyle modification group, where they had them exercise, they had them do meditation, they had them do yoga and a bunch of other activities that were nice and positive, eat better. And what they found was that in just 3 months, they were able to change 501 genes to express in a different way. Your genes are simply the blueprints for what your body does given whatever situation you're living. And so if you're living in a stressful, sick situation, your genes are going to help you, overcome that by expressing a stressful, sick physiology. So they saw over 500 genes change because of how they were living differently. That's amazing stuff. You can truly reset the programming of your body to function in a different way just through these kind of lifestyle modifications. And again, this isn't even talking about chiropractic just yet. So we see this tremendously when people are doing our nutrition response testing programs, and we change and modify their diet and help them to simply be able to get the proper fuel and proper organic functions in their body to work better. So that's something that we can also talk about later on. This one is one of my favorite research things to talk about. This is the unanticipated effects of chiropractic and other CAM therapies, complementary and alternative medicine therapies. They saw that with chiropractic especially, there was better improvements in overall well-being, ability to relax, body awareness, emotional states, and increased options and hope. Now, I love this because I can imagine sitting down with somebody in their first visit and saying, all right, I just got to be honest with you. These are the side effects that you can face. If any of these scare you, it's just the reality of what I have to disclose. So you could have increased well-being and more ability to relax and body awareness. Like, they would look at me like I was totally nuts. But this is the reality. When you actually do the right thing for the body, you can get some amazing results, way more than just about the back pain and those kinds of things. So when you do the right thing with the body, you get the right results. And when you're helping the whole body to function at a higher level and to heal throughout the entire body, there's no limit to where that health goes. I can't just focus it on the back pain alone. They're going to see benefits like we talked about with bowel functions, with hormone functions, with heart and stomach and liver functions. I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that we're helping your entire body to function better because your brain and nervous system has greater power and greater efficiency. This is another great article, talks about how chiropractic care had some amazing financial benefits and other benefits like hospital admissions being reduced 60%, outpatient surgeries by 62% for people that are under chiropractic care. And look at this, pharmaceutical expenses were down 85%. Think about the current crisis that our healthcare system is in, how much money we are spending on a regular basis, and we just keep thinking, we got to find a way to cover this, we got to find a way to make this more affordable. Well, if we keep throwing more money at the wrong things, we're going to continue to get the wrong results. We got to do something different and actually allow our bodies to function in a better way and heal. So imagine if everybody was under chiropractic care and we saw nationwide pharmaceutical expenses go down 85%. I mean, think about what that would do for our healthcare expenditures. Like, problem solved. That's awesome. Let's do that. This is a great article that shows some of the deep healing changes that are possible. So thiol is a measure of DNA repair. And what they saw was that people who had chiropractic care had greater thiol levels in their blood. And what was more important is that people who had been under chiropractic care for more than 5 years had the most serum thiol, meaning the most DNA repair happening in their body. So talk about rewinding the clock. This is showing that your body is no longer under that oxidative stress and breaking down and aging faster. Your body is actually staying healthy. And in my opinion, it's rewinding the clock on your body. That's an amazing thing to see. Now, we also get the question once in a while, how late is too late? I'm already so old. I already have so many problems. Well, this study looked at people over 65 years of age, and they found, again, some fairly remarkable benefits. 50% fewer medical provider visits, 69% less healthcare costs than the national average. So again, if we want to solve our healthcare problems, and especially Medicare problems, here we go. Get them under chiropractic care. And then 95.8% felt the care was considerably or extremely valuable. It's never too late to benefit, but it does take work. It does take meeting a chiropractor like myself halfway. You got to put in the effort. You got to make the investment. And so what I want to leave you with is simply the offer to do that. In our office, when we do these talks live, we give you the opportunity that is complimentary to come in and see how we can help free of charge. Well, with this, I want to do something as nice, but I want to save that complimentary one for making sure you come and see this live and do it in-house, and then you also get that free meal as well. So if you want to do this for your health, for your family, for your kids, instead of the full $150 that it takes to come in to see us, we want to do that simply for $39. So contact us today. You have our information right here on the page. Find us on Facebook, find us on our website, insidehealth.com, and contact us today. Let us know that you saw the Vital Shift video and that you're ready to make the change for your health for the better. I look forward to seeing you. This is Dr. David Fallacy, chiropractor at Inside Health, signing off.